This video is designed to show you how to make a keychain on SketchUp for the 3D printer. First thing you need to do is come down to the Start menu in the lower left corner of your desktop. Click on Start, go to All Programs, go to CTE. You'll find a folder for SketchUp on there. Click on that folder and you'll see the SketchUp program. Click on the SketchUp program. Choose Template. Now at the bottom of the choice list, you'll see two um, templates, 3D printing inches and millimeters. You can pick whichever one you're comfortable with. I like inches. First screen that comes up is this screen here. What I like to do is zoom in, and I like to have my work on I like to work on the left side of the page. This icon here, the pan, you can grab it and move your drawing up and down, back and forth. This one right here, which is the orbit, you can click on this and rotate it. A little more challenging to use, but it gives you more power. Okay, I'm ready to go now. Before you start, there's a MakerBot replicator platform. It's like a box, a transparent box. It's a good idea to get rid of that. Click on the Select tool up in the upper left-hand corner of your toolbar. Click on this and then hit the Delete key on your keyboard, and you'll delete that. That won't confuse the 3D printer. If you have that up on the, if you have that saved on your drawing or your keychain, then that might confuse the 3D printer and impact its ability to draw or to print out your keychain. First thing you need to do is select the Draw tool, the Line tool. Select Line, click on the origin, drag that along this green axis. And what I like to do, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a length and a box. Watch me type in 3 in that box on the keyboard, and then I'm going to hit return. And if you notice that the program SketchUp automatically draws a 3-inch line. I'm going to draw along the red axis, and if it's red, that means that you're drawing at if it's red or green, if your line's red or green, that means it's a 90-degree angle to the line you're drawing from. So I want a 90-degree angle up here, and I'm going to make that 1.5. So if you look down in the right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see 1.5. I'm going to type in, hit the enter key, and it draws me a line that's exactly 1.5 inches long. Come down here, remember it's got to be green. It's up to you. If you want to make an irregular shape or a regular polygon, that's fine. You have some freedom to design whatever shape you want as a keychain. I like to, for purposes of demonstration, just draw a rectangle. Click on the red axis and drag this over. Click on the origin or the endpoint, and there's your triangle. It's a two-dimensional shape now, and because it's shaded, it indicates that all those lines are closed. Now, I click the Select tool. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to use the Orbit command, and I'm going to tilt this a little bit. What I'm going to do now is I want to put a decorative edge on both sides, or a radius on both ends. So what I'm going to do is click Lines, and I'm going to eyeball, right up down about 1/6 of the distance from the origin. I'm going to draw a line across. And I'm going to do the same thing up here, come down, and draw a line across. Now I'm going to put an arc on both those ends. So I come up here in the menu bar and hit the 2-point arc tool. Click on the endpoint here. Click on the other endpoint. Now you don't click on the middle. That's the midpoint is blue, highlight in blue there. I don't click on there. I just drag the mouse out to the end of the rectangle. Do the same thing down here. You click on each endpoint, and then you come to the midpoint and don't click but drag, and then click. Now I've got my radius on there and on each end. So now I'm going to delete this section of the drawing I don't need. You want to get rid of all these excess lines, because if you don't, then what's going to happen is that 3D printer is going to be confused to try to print those. So I'm going to delete these, and then we'll be able to continue on with our drawing. By the way, to delete it, you just click on it. It should be highlighted blue, and then you hit the delete key. Now, on every I'm going to delete this line right here. Now, on every keychain, you have to attach the keys. So I need a circle. I'm going to need to find a midpoint. There it is. And I'm going to expand that circle by clicking on it and then dragging. And then I'm going to click there. And now I'm going to delete all the lines associated with making the arc and also making that circle. The last thing I have to do with this two-dimensional shape is to delete that circle. Boom. Now you don't remember that I have a two-dimensional shape. I want to give it depth. So I click on this tool up here. It's a push-pull. Click on it, and then you just, once you click on it, you can drag the mouse back and forth. You can add depth to it. Now if you look down in the lower right corner, I'm going to give it 0.1 or 1/10 of an inch, make it that thick. And that'll be fine for purposes of this demonstration. It's up to you how thick you want to make it, but remember, if you make it too thick, it's going to take a long time to, it's going to use a lot of filament to print out. Okay, once you've done that, I've got a 3D image. Okay, one thing you should do is look at the backside or the underneath, and it's solid. If yours is hollow, then you've done something wrong. You need to go back and redo it. I would recommend starting over from the beginning. Okay, we're good there. Now, I want to put a decorative edge on there. Of course, you know, you have a lot of freedom to do whatever you want with the shape and also whatever additions you put on here. Let me just show you how to put a decorative edge. You come over here to the offset tool, click on that, click on the surface of the keychain and just drag it in. Now what I'll do over here, if you look in the lower right corner, it says distance. I'm going to put 0.05, and that looks like a nice distance. And you might want to experiment with different distances. Come over here and give it some depth by clicking on the push-pull tool. Come in here and then bring this up. Guess what? 0.1, it returned. Now actually that looks a little too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the keyboard and hold the control key down and hit Z. And what that does is that eliminates that last step. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 0.05 return, and that looks a little better right there. Now, the last thing I need to do is put some text on there. In order to put text on, I'm just going to use the orbit tool to move it around a little bit here. That looks right there, so I can show you a little better. I'm going to come up to the Tools command, click on that, and if you come down here to 3D text, and it should come up here in a second. There it is. Now it's really important that you select a good font. A good font is one that is thick. And we're going to go through here. Stencil looks okay. That Snap has possibilities. You come up here. Now that Show Card Gothic looks like a good one. Anything that's thick will come out better on the 3D printer. I like Rockwell Extra Bold. I'm going to click on that one. And now you want to set the height initially to 0.1. And both of these settings should be set to 0.1 initially. All right. And then I'm going to change this. Let's try putting on here hall pass, because frequently I use these for hall passes. And then I hit place, and that you can see that's too small. So for this size keychain, those settings of 0.1 and 0.1 are too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the Control Z key and delete that, and I'm going to go back and try again with a change in settings. And let's go back here to try 0.2, and we'll leave 0.1, and we'll try this. Let me just leave enter text on there so we don't spend too much time with stuff you guys already know how to do. So that looks like a pretty good setting. So you'll notice that on a 3-inch keychain, if I change the top setting to 0.2 and the bottom one I keep at 0.1, it comes out looking compatible with this size keychain. Now it's very important that you weld this text to the keychain. Right now it's not attached, it's separate. To weld it, you right click on it and you come down here where it says explode and click on explode. Now it's welded on. And I just click on, there you go. You can see the end product here. Now this is just a basic keychain. Let me just see if I can flip it around here so you can see a little bit better. This is a basic keychain. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to flip it on here. There you go. It's a little tricky to use this orbit tool, but you can see that that's pretty basic. So you have the option to change the shape of this, the size of this circle, the text you put on here, whether you want to put a raised edge on the outside. So there's a lot of options you can do, and I would recommend going in and experimenting with these different settings and coming up with something unique. The last thing we need to do is we need to save this to your My Documents, and then you also need to convert it to an STL file. If we come over here, you'll notice that it says export. This in its present form is not, you can't 3D print this. It has to be converted from an SKP file. So if I save this and I go into My Documents, you notice that on the extension is SKP. We need to save this as an STL file that the 3D printer recognizes. In order to do that, we come up here, and this is very important. On the menu bar, you'll see a command for an icon for Extension Warehouse. Click on that, and then click on SketchUp STL. And you can see that it's at the top because it's very popular. This is I'm gonna load a translator that will convert the SKP language to a language that the 3D printer can understand. And then when you type in your Google address for the school, you can even type in the one from home, and then you go through the process. It'll load that patch for you. And once you're done loading that, when you come over here to File, you'll see a command here instead of export. It'll say Export STL. And then you export it as an STL into your My Documents, and then you'll be able to send that to the 3D printer, which in turn will be able to print that. If you have any questions, you just need to ask your teacher. And that's how you basically how you do the keychain. Good luck.